know my favorite. I'm literally shaking right now. I was just getting groceries and I live in San Francisco and I never really feel fully safe. If you live in San Francisco, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And I just got groceries. I'm walking out of the store and this guy is walking past me and says, "Move, you stupid," and he spits in my face, spits all over my face. And then I say, "Excuse me, did you just spit in my face?" And he says, "Move or I'll rape you." There's also people everywhere and everyone's just walking by because they're like, I can't handle something else in San Francisco. It's always something else. I don't even know why I'm posting this. If you live in San Francisco, do you feel this way all the time? I don't feel safe, ever. I literally never feel safe. It's better when it's daylight. But nighttime, no, not leaving my house.
Now, your first inclination may be to, have sympathy, feel sorry for this person. I think it's pretty normal. I think, you hear a story like that and you think, oh man, that poor woman. Hold on, because also her.
I'm very liberal and not very religious, so if you're going to be offended, maybe turn away now.
First up, the gift of life sponsored by The Right to Life.
So, yeah, you get what you vote for? I don't know what else to tell you there. You vote for the politicians that are going to enact these policies, and you push forward the idea that, you're full of compassion. There's a better way. Okay, we had a system to keep these kinds of things from happening, or at least to a minimum. You refuse to acknowledge that and think that your way is better. Is it better? Doesn't sound like it. It sounds like it's quite a bit worse. And you can imagine, you can already hear the talking points on this, right? Like the excuses that they're going to use. Well, it's the system, it's this reason, it's that reason. How about, instead of tripping over yourself to talk in circles and coming up with these excuses for why what you're doing isn't working, we look at the alternative, tried and true, traditional idea of justice. Not that hard, not that complicated. You see, society is built upon and based upon the idea of law and order. And by law and order, I mean you commit a crime and you pay for the crime. And it's not something that's controversial. It shouldn't be. It's not a new idea. This is an idea that's been around since the concept of civilized man. Everybody agrees on a set of rules, laws, and you uphold those rules and laws. And when people break those laws, there's consequences that those people have to pay. So what's happened? You can look at it from our point of view, modern society's point of view, and it seems to us like this is a relatively new phenomenon. It's not new. It's just been getting worse, and now it's more noticeable, and it is becoming more prevalent. So why do you not break the law? Probably two reasons why you don't break the law. The first reason being because it's the wrong thing to do. The other one is just the laws that society has set forth that it's not socially acceptable to break the law. Do you think more people don't break the law because they know it's wrong to do, or more people don't break the law because they know there are consequences? The one thing that we do know for sure is that you cannot have one without the other, because you cannot rely on humanity as a whole to just do the right thing, obviously. So you naively thinking that you're going to take away the consequences breaking the law and then just expect everybody to just not break the law? How's that working for you? I think a lot of people are answering that for themselves. As you can see, you get what you vote for. And if you are stupid enough to think that people won't take the path of least resistance, you can just trust those in power, you can just trust your fellow man and your neighbors to always do what's right, I would posit that you could expect a better outcome removing the consequences if the society were a healthy society. Is our society healthy? It would appear not. And so what makes a healthy society? A society with a majority of people that believe in right and wrong and that can agree on right and wrong. We cannot agree on what a woman is. Basic biology. Apparently, we cannot agree on history, relying on the good health of our current society. Yeah, that's not going to work. You're having a lot of bad behavior rewarded. Where does this come from? I would say that a lot of it comes from the top, because who are we electing? We're electing bad actors and have been doing so for decades. We have a criminal straight up crime family in charge of the executive branch of government. That's how unhealthy our society, our civilization, and our country really is. So how are those consequences for crime standing now? Because as far as doing the right thing, because it's the right thing to do, we're in the hole. We're negative. With consequences for law breaking in mind, why are there none now? It's a good question. And it's one that I have some insight into because I was in law enforcement. I worked for the Supreme Court, state of Kentucky. I have a little bit of experience and I kind of know how the system works. And I know exactly just how broken it is. And I would venture to guess that most people do not know. Why do you not shoplift? You know, you'll get arrested and go to jail, and that's a bad thing. But there are ways out of jail, especially for something like shoplifting, misdemeanor type crimes. Even felonies have what we call bonds. Now, as far as bail bonds go, the idea that you have to pay some kind of money or you have to do something that ties you to the court system, it just makes sure that you have some skin in the game. You can't just walk out of jail and not go to court. You got to get the matter resolved. You're going to have to pay for your crimes. You're still innocent until proven guilty, but there's reasonable suspicion to think that you committed the crime. So now we have the idea of, and this is being implemented in a lot of blue cities, hence the videos that you saw, the idea of bail reform. There are no more cash bonds. You no longer have to pay to get out of jail. And that sounds great to a lot of people, a lot of really naive, stupid people who don't realize how the system really works. They say, well, your stay in jail shouldn't be tied to how, rich you are. It's not. You didn't have to go to jail, but you did. You made the decisions and you did. So that's on you. Now, how you get out of jail, it depends on you as well, because there are ways out of jail that don't require cash bond. Believe it or not, bail reform didn't come up with this idea on its own. These things have been around for a very long time. So if you have no criminal history, maybe some speeding tickets or whatever, and you get arrested for shoplifting, you're probably not going to have to pay any money to get out of jail. It's not really going to enter into the equation at all. There's not a lot of reason for the court to think that, you're not actually going to show up because you're not a career criminal. You don't have a lot of charges. They'll give you the benefit of the doubt based on your prior actions. Now, if you are a career criminal and you have 5 pages of criminal history and you get arrested for shoplifting, are you going to just get released from jail? Probably not, except now you will. Bail reform. Now, what a lot of people don't realize about bail reform, you're taking the whole cash thing out of it. Ultimately, the court or the government gets to decide who gets released from jail or not. There must always be an avenue for you to get out of jail because you're innocent until proven guilty. So to have a government that is capable of deciding who gets out of jail and who's not, even before they're convicted, how does the government get to make that decision? You should get to make that decision, not just in the moment, but with your prior actions, with your criminal history. Now, that's one way it can be taken. The other way it can be taken is that bail reform right now errs on the side of just letting everybody out of jail, except for what? Except for the January 6th protest? Yeah, a lot of them had no bond too. And guess what? A lot of them had clean criminal histories too. You've kept yourself clean your entire life and now suddenly you're a criminal that can't be trusted to come to court. Says who? Says the government. Bail reform. So if you're a criminal and you know that you're going to get arrested if you get caught, but then you're also just going to get turned around and released, revolving door, right out of jail, you're not seeing a whole lot of consequences there. Now, what does this do? This frees up criminals to go and commit more crime, which is what we see. Okay, that brings me to the other side of it. Consequences once you're found guilty, whether you've had a trial or whether you've agreed to a plea deal, what are the consequences there? Well, every law that's on the books has a maximum allowed by law, 30 days in jail, however many years in prison, whatever the case may be, whatever law is being broken. Is the maximum the goal? Or is it kind of like a speed limit? Because I would argue that the maximum sentence is more of a speed limit. It's not something you work to achieve. It's something that holds you back. We have seen judges and prosecutors treat the maximum sentence as a goal, something they just can't quite reach, to the point where oftentimes there is no time served. We call that probation. Now, when you first look at the idea of probation, you might think it sounds good. You might think, well, you don't want somebody that just committed shoplifting or got a DUI to spend 30 days in jail paying for their crime. What's going to make an impact on you on a personal level? Will it be going through the court system with date after date, going through the entire thing, using money on your attorneys to take a plea deal or to lose a trial and then get sentenced to a year of probation? Or would it be to serve time in jail? Even 15 days in jail, it's going to leave a mark on somebody with no criminal history. You're going to remember that. Maybe I shouldn't have that second beer before driving home because, wow, 15 days in jail the last time. Yeah, no thank you. Back to the idea of probation, let's extend that idea to other career criminals. How well do you think it works there? I can tell you for a fact, I have seen this with my own eyes and know this happens. You will have a career criminal, and by a career criminal, I mean somebody with 5 pages, 10 pages of criminal history. We're talking about something that goes back decades. I've seen these people come in, be on 4 cases, 5 cases, where they've been sentenced to probation, get arrested again, and then go right back through the court system and get more probation. This happens. I've seen it with my own eyes. Are they paying the consequences? See, even when it comes to being found guilty, they aren't really. All these probations, all these diversions that we see with these career criminals, well, those generate court dates because they have attorneys, usually, public defender, Department of Public Advocacy. So you have probation violation hearings. You have other motions that are submitted by these attorneys for each case. Many people that are on probation have multiple open cases. So what do you think that does to the court system? Yeah, it backs it up big time. Do you ever wonder why it takes over a year sometimes to try somebody for a crime? They won't see trial for years. That's why. So any hope of going through the criminal justice system and paying your time, it doesn't look anything like you think it looks like. I can guarantee that. And by the time you get sentenced, you go through your trial a year, 2 years later, even if we were to go by the type of sentence that's necessary then, it's been 2 years since you committed the crime. So are you really going to feel like, okay, well now, a year later, now it's time for me to pay for my crime? You've been drugged through the criminal justice system for so long, had so many different court dates, had many motions filed. Are you really feeling like you're paying for your crime? It's just a hassle at that point. So is that justice? Is that really going to teach somebody something? Is that really going to have the desired effect? I would argue not. You take all those problems and you magnify them 1,000-fold, and that's what you're seeing in these big cities. If you think that it's hard to get a trial date in Franklin County, Kentucky, what do you think it's like in New York, Los Angeles? What do you think that court system looks like? Complete nightmare. And there is no justice. See a correlation? So as far as all of you people that have voted for these things, right up to the point where somebody's spitting in your face, threatening you, pulling a gun on you, robbing you at knife point, and then you're saying, well, wait a minute, but you were told. I don't feel bad for you at all, because if you would shut your mouth and listen to people that have come before you and people that know history, we've been trying to tell you that you are wrong for a long time. Now you're just learning it the hard way. You're going to keep learning harder lessons, and they only get harder from here. The absence of justice, that's one thing. What is worse than no justice? My answer to that question is the title of this video. We're seeing the opposite of justice. And what I mean by that is the idea that the government will punish those that defend themselves, which is happening, by the way. I can name several cases off the top of my head that have made it to national news status. So who knows how much is really happening. So we're defunding the police, not prosecuting crimes, not going after criminals. The leftists are also pushing to disarm regular citizens. A lot of these places are making self-defense against the law. So what do we call that? Anti-justice. Evil. That's the next step. Because even if you are justified in using a weapon in self-defense, for instance, one of these large cities that don't allow regular citizens to, carry handguns, or if they do, then you have to jump through a million, like New York City, for instance. I believe New York City does have concealed carry. Good luck getting it. From what I hear, it basically takes an act of freaking Congress to get one. But if you were to use a weapon in self-defense and you were justified in using that weapon in self-defense, you're still a criminal because you used a weapon in a place that doesn't allow weapons, at least for the citizens. The criminals, however, they can have weapons. It's up to the city or the state, county, whatever the case may be, if they want to prosecute. Do they prosecute those crimes? I've seen multiple videos on Facebook, on TikTok, where people obviously have illegal fully automatic handguns. They're showing them off on Facebook. Do those people get put in jail? Is that something that happens? Because there's video evidence of the fact that they have it. Anybody that can stand by and not only watch criminals not get punished for the crimes they commit, but be okay with punishing citizens for defending themselves and having the means to defend themselves. How do you make that make sense to you? I can ask those questions, but I'm pretty sure I already know the answer. They don't really think about it too much. They just go along with whatever they're told by whatever politician they're told that they're supposed to like, and then oppose whatever other politician they're told not to like. We don't see reality the same. I must call into question your entire view of reality, because if that's logic to you, that makes sense to you, we'll never be the same. We'll never be able to agree on anything, because that is evil. And I don't think evil and letting evil prevail is the right path to choose. And I think when it boils down to it, and when you step outside of your little echo chamber, your little leftist socialist echo chamber with all your friends, where you virtue signal about this and show them how different and unique you are about with whatever mental illness you say you have that day, or get pulled outside by something that happens to you, something a criminal does to you, suddenly, oh my God, can you believe it? A criminal did something bad to me. Why are we letting this happen? Who's we? Why are you letting this happen? And now suddenly it affects you, and now it's terrible. The same old question. The same old question applies here. If you were wrong about letting bad people do bad things to good people, what else might you be wrong about? I would venture to guess a lot. Good day.